Rebel Wolves just released a brand new video over on their YouTube channel, with the biggest news here being a confirmation of 2026 as the release year for the Blood of Dawnwalker. This is not a scarf, this is just a blanket. A delay is of course always possible, but I'd say that they sounded fairly confident, but unfortunately they did not give us a time frame or anything like that, so that is currently up for speculation. If I had to guess, I would guess Q3, maybe Q4 release, as it does appear as if they want to do a bit of a marketing build-up to the game's release, which would likely rule out at the very least Q1. But I'm going to also personally just assume that they use Q2 for marketing, as well, as many studios like to use events such as the Summer Games Fest for big marketing pushes, and Summer Games Fest 2026 is in June. Now we also have to consider that GTA 6 has a November, I think it's 19th release as of right now, and I think every single studio is at least considering or taking that into account. You just have to. It's just such a massive franchise. But if I had to take a guess, maybe sometime in October, as October is a spooky month and a good month for a vampire game, and also certain dates in October can be a month plus prior to GTA 6, but my guess for the window would be July through October, sometime in that time frame, but my guess is as good as yours. And since I mentioned marketing build-up, Rebel Wolves did say that they still have a ton of content to show us prior to release, and that we can expect to see and learn some more information on characters that we have not been introduced to yet. They state that we have not met the entire cast of main characters yet, and more on gameplay features, locations, and creatures as well. So I'd expect the first half of this year to contain a lot of that. Also in the video, they did release the main theme song for the game, composed by Nicola, I'm just going to say K for his last name until I do some researching to figure out how to pronounce that. And this is presented to us through a recorded orchestra performance. It's a really cool, unique song. I'll leave a link down below for you to go check it out. I actually really like this trend of studios releasing main theme songs prior to their game's release. It's like a really genuine way of getting players excited and thinking of the future and what a game may entail. But perhaps the most exciting part of this update is that they left us with a short new trailer that features cinematics and some gameplay snippets. In this footage, we get to see two new characters. We have this lady right here who appears to be friendly with the main character, Cohen, and you will notice that on her shirt or her attire, she has these weird looking symbols, almost runic looking in nature. And in this particular scene, we see runes lighting up on Cohen's chest. Now, if you've been keeping up with my Dawnwalker videos, you would know that in this game, some humans are able to use this form of magic called hexes, but this type of magic requires a gate to open that allows magic to flow in. So practitioners basically have to carve runes into their flesh to open up this gate and let the power in, which appears to be what we're seeing here with Cohen. Now at nighttime, however, Cohen transitions into his vampire form, and these runic scars should seal up and they cannot be used at that time, and that is of course when Cohen is going to gain access to the special vampire powers, which are separate from the hexes. But this particular character is appearing to be associated with this hex type magic. Perhaps she's a teacher or a guide to Cohen of some sorts, you know, a master of hexes and runes, and likely someone whose goals are at least somewhat aligned with Cohen in taking out the vampire lords. And then the other character revealed here is another woman, but this one appears to be a vampire. Probably not a Dawnwalker, but she, like the First Lady, also appears to be on Cohen's side, at least in some way, as there does not appear to be any hostility in these scenes. They appear to be working together. At one point, she does do some sort of vampiric magical spell where blood is summoned in front of her, and then the scene instantly switches to Cohen extending his body upwards with blood coming out of his mouth. It doesn't really seem like it's a negative scene, though. It more so seems like he's gaining some sort of powers. So perhaps this lady, like the first character we talked about, is the one who's going to aid Cohen in developing his vampiric powers in this case, rather than his human hex powers. But she could also just be like a companion type character, a story character whose goals just happen to align with Cohen and they end up teaming up. It's definitely noteworthy to also point out that Cohen and this character in this one scene are approaching this gigantic blood spire fountain glob, and this appears to be something important to the game and to the story. Perhaps it has something to do with Cohen gaining new powers, like they pull from this and he's able to absorb new powers, or maybe it has nothing to do with that, but that's just something that I thought of. And another thing I noticed is that Rebel Wolves is appearing to want to at least somewhat accurately represent medieval times in Eastern Europe, which is where this game takes place in the Carpathian Mountains, as most of the human NPCs do have Eastern European appearances, but the vampires are much more diverse, including this new woman vampire, which indicates that vampires at this time are likely much more international, shall I say, while regular humans, especially in these medieval times, are much more confined to their place of origin, as there's no fast travel or anything like that, and most of these humans don't have teleport abilities like vampires do. I think this is a really cool concept, and it should allow for some interesting characters with unique backgrounds while also maintaining some sense of historical location accuracy. I'm definitely excited to see if Rebel Wolves is able to expand on some of the vampires' backgrounds and talk about where they come from, and perhaps even give insight into, how vampires and humans interact in other parts of the world, what's going on outside of Eastern Europe. And then we also got some gameplay snippets of Cohen, the player character, running through a few different locations, some that we have definitely not seen before. This scene right here appears to just be a gate, probably at the city of Svartrau, so nothing crazy. This snippet, however, shows Cohen running into a much more hellish looking landscape, although I do want to point out that this also appears to be a gate of some sorts, or was a gate. Now I doubt this, but I'd say it's possible that this could be foreshadowing as to what some previously normal locations could turn into, or it could also just be a location, away from the city that is just corrupt in nature. And then we have this, I'd say, very Witcher looking marsh type area and a snow-filled landscape, which indicates that we will likely be able to go up some of the snowy mountains that you can see in the distance from previous shots that Rebel Wolves have shown us of this game. In this snippet, Cohen is running towards a building that appears to have some evil within, as you can see the red coming out of the windows. And then the short trailer ends with a new shot of the 4 vampire lords, with of course Brensis, the leader and the main antagonist, in the center. Really cool looking shot. I love the character designs. And that's pretty much it for the update video, although I will say that the video starts off with a bit of a recap of what Rebel Wolves has released to us so far. We started off with the reveal cinematic, very dark and gruesome. I really like that trailer. And then we got the gameplay reveal over summer of 2025. And then just a couple months ago, in November of 2025, they did a gameplay showcase, which showed similar gameplay to the gameplay reveal, but we did get to see some permutations, different types of gameplay, updated gameplay, and some fan requested features that have been added or changed, such as the ability to pull the camera back a bit further from Cohen. I did do an in-depth video going over all of that previously on the channel. I'll leave a link to that down below if you would like to be caught up. Thank you all so much for watching. I will be covering this game throughout this year and all the updates, as this is currently my most anticipated game of 2026. So yeah, much more content to come, and I look forward to seeing what Rebel Wolves drops, hopefully sometime soon.